Round two. Okay, so I got the okay to look into this here and find out why the rollover sensor is not responding. And just to give you a quick rundown here, obviously I see rusty bolts down there. I'm going to show you guys though the problem with this rollover sensor swap out. As I started to get closer and closer and closer, I started looking and saying to myself, you know, that sure doesn't look new. Well, that's because they replaced whatever that module is next to it. I didn't even look it up yet. I have no idea, but they do need a rollover sensor, but we're going to find out how I test it and why. So, just to show you, see, by the way, I grabbed the factory tool just in case, like always, just to double check everything. This is why you always have two tools. Let me turn that key on, hit enter, and when we go in there, it'll say no communication. So it wasn't a problem at all with the launch. The launch should have been able to do it. Real quick, here's our rollover sensor, in case you get one of these. Here's our wiring diagram, once again provided by All Data. Our wires, starting from the top here, we have the red and white wire that, if we follow it up, goes up to the airbag AOS fuse, which also feeds down there the airbag control module, or the SDRM, or SDM, excuse me, not SDRM, SDM. Anyhow, that is our power feed. We can communicate with the airbag module, so that shouldn't be an issue. Our red and white here should be our power feed. We'll check it there. Our black and white is our ground. That comes down there to G301. So 1 and 6 are going to be our powers and grounds. So grab the U-scope, one across. I'm leaving this plugged in right now. That is red and white. We have 12 volts. Black and white. Nice clean ground. Definitely clean. If I lift it, you can see it actually elevates very slightly. That's definitely a ground. Okay. So our black and white is good. Our power coming in is good. We have our dark green wire. Is going to be data communication schematics. Okay, I like that. So I would expect to see some kind of data. See if I can get on there. Alright, so that's dark green. You see we have some kind of activity. If I bring that down, bring that time frame down, make sure it actually looks like, yeah, that's a communication line to me. See, it's slightly elevated above ground. I'm not too worried about that. Again, it says data communication, so not sure what that layout is. I'd have to take a look, but I'm not too worried about it. Doesn't look like an ugly signal, and that's the reason why I'm not going to worry. Then we have our yellow and black, and that's going to be our communication from module to module, right? Where our sensor is technically a module, and that's going to go right here, the SDM. So our yellow and black, our last wire. Let me slide that back probe in. I just have to wonder whether or not you're making contact right away, but there it is. And that's also at 12 volts. Okay, so that's not being brought down. Let's leave that on there for a second. I have the scan tool still hooked up over here. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to boot up the scan tool again. Whoops, lots of glare. But I'm going to go on the scan tool. And when I command some kind of communication here, if I try to speak to that ROS module, I should get some kind of, or I should say the inflatable restraint module, I should have some kind of communication. Heck, I don't even need a scan tool. What am I saying? See, I'm learning as I go along with you guys. Now that I'm thinking about it, all I need to do is just cycle the key on and off. There should be a state of health message, something that's going to say from one module to the other, hey, yes, I'm here, I'm good. It'll be some kind of a serial data that'll say I exist. All right, so I'm going to turn the key off. Off. I wonder if that power is down. We'll give it a minute. So this is where you won't find any data on these wires. You know, there may not be a actual pinout chart for it. Alright. So it doesn't look like it's going to power down anytime soon. I'm going to turn that key back on. and I saw nothing there. What I would expect is something to happen. If you look up here, right up there, you'll see it's indicating that that's going to be some kind of a serial data, right? So I'm expecting to see something there. I'm expecting this 12 volts is coming out here, and if you see that, it looks like a switch to ground. If it will focus, it looks like a switch to ground. You would expect that the rollover sensor would sit there and toggle it to ground in order to create some kind of communication to say, hey, yes, here I am. Well, none of that there is happening. So, does still need a rollover sensor. Just this rollover sensor, not that thing, whatever that was that they replaced over there. And yep, that's exactly what happens. Something I didn't mention in the last video, and only because I didn't see it, because this was covering it. Down here, if you look at that little symbol, that symbol right there also tells you that there's programming involved when you get the new sensor. If you see that symbol on a box of a computer or anything at all you're buying, that means there is a programming involved. Okay, and again, you saw what the programming really is going to be. It's a matter of just pressing a couple of buttons on a scan tool. And I am sure that when all this is said and done, and perhaps I'll be able to get a chance to show you again, but I'm sure the launch will be able to do it. Probably the Autel as well. Snap-on, I don't know. Honestly, I haven't booted up my Snap-on in probably a month, so I don't know. But I'm sure that the other tools can all handle it. But in the meantime, no, I'll tell these guys to get a rollover sensor, and just a follow-up to the last video. Have a good one.